Hi guys, Mr. Overon here with Mr. Overon's Tarot Reading Services, and today I am doing a honey jar spell for love. Now, no matter where you look on the web or in books and stuff like that, you are never ever supposed to cast a love spell, because that can be considered black magic, because you are putting a spell on somebody that would make it go against their will. This particular love spell that I'm doing is actually more of a suggested love spell. There already has to be some kind of intent on the person's part. What this is doing is just like sweetening the deal and saying, hey, you know what, give this person a chance. And I know that love spells and magic and stuff like that is like one of the biggest topics that people look for, and people are always asking me, Mr. Overon, can you please do a reading for my love life, or can you tell me how this person feels, or how that person feels, or so on and so forth. So this is just my way of doing things. It's a blend of voodoo, traditional magic, Wicca, and just combining elements of love, like things that that represent love to you. There are some basic things that you cannot skip out on. One of them is, it is imperative to have either a red or a pink candle for this spell. Now, the candle I am using is this dark red. To me, it's representing that dark passion and desire and lust that I want the relationship to start off with, where it just brings the both of us together, and it's just like, okay, here it is. Now, I'm not actually going to recite the spell on camera because it is a very specific from the heart spell, and that's going to be your best interest, is to recite a spell that's best suited for you and the person that you are falling for. I will give you a basic spell that you can use, or like a guideline. So what you're going to need is, you're going to need a candle. You're going to need some kind of jar. I like using baby food jars because, well, one, they're small, they're compact, and they don't take up much realty in my magical working area. And you can get these for free if you just go on like Facebook or Craigslist, and if you're a member of a buy-sell exchange group or whatever, just ask people, hey, if you have any baby food jars with lids that are clean, I'll take them. And 9 times out of 10 people will just show up with like boxes of stuff. Like half of the crap that's right behind me right now is just miscellaneous jars with lids that people drop off at my house all the time because they know that I'm always looking for it. Like, I'll come home and there will just be a box of jars. I actually had to put something out on my personal Facebook page, hey, no more jars. So anyways, so yeah, you're going to want a candle and a jar. You're also going to need some sugar. Any old sugar will do. This is just plain white granulated sugar that I picked up at Walmart. And really, just the sugar and the candle and the jar would be perfect. But I like to step it up a notch, and I like to use honey. Not the honey syrup or whatever, but the actual real honey. This is pure raw clover honey. 12 ounces was like $4, $3 or $4 at Walmart. And when you're doing a jar spell, in hoodoo and voodoo, it's called a honey jar. Well, this is where the hoodoo aspect of it comes from in this particular setting, because I am going to be using honey and sugar to place my intent into the spell. I also like to use vanilla. This is Mexican vanilla. It doesn't have to be from Mexico or whatever. But I like to use this vanilla. One, it's a really good vanilla. Two, it's extremely cheap for pure vanilla. This is $1.50 for pure raw or pure Mexican vanilla. You could, if you have to, use vanilla or imitation vanilla extract, but I really suggest using the real stuff. Again, magic is about intent, and this is your intent, how you want your spell set up. This is just how I do it, so this is how I'm going to do it. Now, for a jar spell, you normally need something that represents that person. It could be their name, or it could be a physical item of theirs, or a picture. In this case, I'm using a picture, again, for the privacy of what I'm trying to do with this spell. I'm not going to show the picture, but you can print it out on your printer or whatever, or take an actual Polaroid, God, that just aged me. But, you know, like a Kodak picture or something like that that you have printed off somewhere. You could do that. The picture I'm using is a picture that I took from the person's Instagram account, and I printed it out on my home computer, and that's what I'm doing for that. Excuse me. The other thing that I'm going to be adding to this jar spell is I'm using a bit of my own hair. So if you live alone, you can just clean out your hairbrush, or if you have somewhat long hair, you can just go real quickly and you can hide it or whatever. But I live alone, no one else uses my hairbrush, so this is my own hair. And I'm actually going to use this to tie around the picture. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add my own blood to it. Now, I've seen, like, on American Horror Story, or like just about any freaking movie involving the occult, where you take a knife and you slice across your hand and then you add that in. No, because owie. So, I don't want my hand to get infected or whatever. I've never done the blade across the hand thing, so I honestly don't know if that's just Hollywood being able to do that or whatever, but I use my hands way too much for typing and everything else to wait like several days for it to heal, because I decided that I needed to use a huge gash across my hand for blood. So what I do whenever I need blood or whatever, I have this little device, and it looks like a little toy Star Trek phaser. But what it is it's a lancing device that has a little tiny needle inside of it, and diabetics use this for testing their blood sugar and stuff. Well, I happen to be diabetic, and so I have a lot of these little dudes laying around. You can pick these up online through eBay or Amazon. They're called a lancet device, and you can even pick it up at Walmart, and you can get like a whole little kit at Walmart for, I think it was less than $15, that had the glucometer and one of these in there. Or you can just ask a friend who may be diabetic if they have an extra lancing device you can have, and then just get a couple of needles from them. So, in most Wiccan, well, in all of Wicca, you really don't use your blood because blood magic is like taboo. So, again, this is where it's factoring into the hoodoo voodoo aspect of it. For me, I'm using my own blood because I really want to empower this spell. So what I'm going to do is when I prick my finger, I'm going to drop out 3 drops of blood, 1 on each eye and 1 over the heart on the picture. And then I'll wrap it up and then tie it off with my hair. Some other things I'm going to be using is rose petals, because it symbolizes love. I'm going to be using lavender oil, because again, lavender symbolizes love. And I'm going to also be using cinnamon. And just as an added little extra bonus, I have some homemade cookies that were made and given to me out of love and as a present. So I'm going to add the cookie to the jar as like an offering to whatever spirit or god or goddess helps me in this undertaking. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my blood. As you can see, there's just a little drop right there. I'm going to go eye, heart. Now you can go a step further and put another drop on the genitalia of the person to kind of get them sexually aroused by you. So that's what I did there. Then you're going to take your picture and fold it. And as you're folding it, fold it towards you. So bring it towards you and think about how your love is doubling, tripling, opening up, and you're folding that love towards you. So you want to do it until it's the right size to fit in whatever jar you're using. So I would do it one more time and bring it over. There I have a nice little packet. Now I'm going to take my hair. And again, this could be hair from anyone. It could even be the person that you're doing this spell on. It could be their hair. And I'm just going to tie it up. Now, if you're a person who uses a lot of crystals and stuff in their magical workings, a good crystal to add into this jar would be rose quartz or magnetic lodestone, hematite, amethyst, any of those stones like that. So here's my little bound package. So now I'm going to open up my jar and I'm going to put the first little bit of sugar down at the bottom here. So let's get my sugar out. And like I've said in previous videos, it's all about the intention that you have. You don't have to go out and buy anything super special. Typically people always have sugar around in the house. As a diabetic, I shouldn't have sugar, but, well, here it is. And honestly, I bought this sugar especially for our special just for this spell, but I can use it elsewhere. So put that there. Okay. Now, as you're building your jar, each time you add an ingredient, you can enchant it, or you can wait until the very last moment and then just put all of your intention into it. I like waiting until the very last moment because I don't like to have to stop and like, oh shit, I forgot to enchant, so let me do this. It breaks my concentration. Okay, so to my base of sugar, I'm going to add 3 drops of lavender oil. Again, this is completely optional. You could use dry lavender in its place. And then I would just use like maybe a teaspoon. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Next, I'm going to add just a little bit of my vanilla. So I'll bring that up here. Just a little bit. Just enough to really kind of darken the sugar. And I'm having total deja vu right now, so that's kind of awesome. I feel like I've done this before. Cinnamon, same thing, just a little dollop of it. So here's the cinnamon. And just enough to add some color to it. And this is not anything special, the cinnamon here. It's the stuff that you could get at like a dollar store or whatever, so you know, you don't have to go out and spend $30 on a huge thing of cinnamon. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of honey to this base. I think personally, honey and the lavender is the most expensive ingredients in this so far. Okay, now I'm going to also add in some lucky rice. And lucky rice is usually meant for financial spells and things like that. Now I have a link, or well, there will be a link, but in some of my past videos I showed you how to make this lucky rice. The reason I'm adding my lucky rice to this is because I want it to be very lucky and very fulfilling, and so and it's also going to be like a bribe to the gods. My neighbor was walking in front of my window with their dog, so that scared me. Okay, just a few granules, nothing too big, nothing too fancy, just a few granules. Oh, that smells so good. Okay, now I'm going to take my little thing of hair and the picture, and I'm just going to plop it right inside there. Try to get it to lay down some. There we go. And now, on top of this, I'm going to add in the rosebuds. So I'm going to put in 3 rosebuds. And then to those rosebuds, I'm going to add more honey. That was about a teaspoon of honey. Now I'm going to take my cookie. I just broke off a little bit of the cookie, and I'm going to shove it in there and push it all down. So that's what we got going on right now. I don't know if that's coming out on the camera well or not. And now I'm just going to fill the whole rest of this with sugar. Now this is going to be a tedious task. And if you're still with me, awesome. Thank you for watching this far. So fill the sugar. And you want the sugar to really be able to get into all the nooks and crannies. So this is where it's going to take some time to be patient and get this all sorted out. In hindsight, I probably should have put the cookie in last, but oh well, I'll make it work. I always do. Okay, that looks like it's pretty well filled up. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a couple of drops more of blood to the top of this sugar. However much blood you want to add, that's completely up to you. So I dabbed my finger in some of the sugar. I'm just going to scrape this right off. There we go. So now I have blood and sugar at the bottom, blood and sugar at the top, plus the blood that I placed onto the picture itself. And then I'm going to finish this off with honey at the top to secure it. Now I'm using another teaspoon, and there you go, and you can see the blood on the top of the jar right there. So now that we're at this step, you're going to want to close it up, and in doing so, imagine you and this person coming closer together, and this is the time when you would say your spell and put all that intent into this. Now, for the candle aspect of this, and I'm going to drop this down just a little bit so we can see what's going on here in life. Okay. So, first of all, I'm going to light this up and just get the bottom of this candle melty. Because what you're going to do is you're going to let the candle melt down on top of this, and you're going to use its own wax to seal it to the top of the candle. Or use the wax from the candle to seal it to the jar. Now, this next part, you're going to want a fire-safe dish or bowl, because you want this whole candle to melt down over the jar. And once that happens, the spell is then complete, and then you take this jar and you can keep it on a shelf or you can bury it. I'm probably going to leave it on my shelf, and then maybe bury it on the full moon. So now, you just light the candle, and this is where you would do your spell. And you would just envision everything about that person that makes you love them and makes you want them to come into your life a little bit more. And you put it from a place of good intention. You're not actually directly your magic is your magic. You do it as you want, but if you just want this person to become sweeter on you, then you would just think sweet thoughts. If you want this person to actually fall in love with you and everything else, you put your intent into it. That's what magic is. It's about your intent. So you just think of it, and then if you need to say any kind of magical spells or phrases over it, you might want to say something like, "Blessed Goddess, Mother Divine, hear this prayer of mine. Today I create this honey and sugar jar in hopes that me and this person come closer together, and that a romantic relationship sparks from it. Allow them to have an open heart and an open mind, and to see that I have love for them and that I would be a good candidate. Let this come together now as this candle burns. Let the flame of desire also burn. From now until now again, let this be cast with no harm to anyone. As so above, as so below, so mote it be." So that would be just like a quick little simple spell that I would say or try to put together for this working. Now, you leave this undisturbed and allow it to completely burn down and do what it's got to do. And afterwards, like I said, put it on a shelf somewhere where it's not going to be disturbed, or bury it in your yard. You could bury it under flowers or whatever, something that you know that's not going to be disturbed, or that may lend its energy to the working of this spell. So there you are, my little witches, and I'm sorry for the super long video. And if you've been following along with me on Instagram, you will have seen this little dude. This is a little guy of my own creation that I have been making in my spare time. He is completely made out of plastic. There's only one piece of cardboard in him. Everything else is milk jug and plastic. I have used probably 20 plastic sacks and 6 milk jugs to make this guy. And so, yeah, if you're not following me on Instagram, you probably should. And it's instagram.com/MrOveron. And you'll see the step-by-step of this guy being formed, everything from the head all the way down. And I've just made him because I was feeling crafty, and it was kind of a crappy day that day, and it was raining outside, and so this was my rainy day project. And I'm going to eventually do some more to this to make him a little bit more of a presence in the room, but he stands on his own. But when I'm working on him, I use this roll of tape to kind of help stabilize him. So yeah, I just wanted to introduce this little guy. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please make sure that you leave them in the comment section down below. And if you would like to schedule a reading, please head over to www.mroveron.com. And make sure to follow me on Instagram. That's instagram.com/MrOveron. And yeah, I look forward to seeing and talking with you guys, so please make sure that you like and subscribe to this video, and I will talk to you all later. Bye, my witches!